In this video, I will show you how to write the equation of a line given various types of information. Now, my favorite way to do these problems is to make a chart like this one, where I start off writing slope m for the first column, and then I will find the y-intercept b in the second column, and in the third column I will write the equation. Of course, this is where the actual answer to the question is going to be, and it always follows the form y is equal to something x plus something. In other words, y equals mx plus b, where the first box is going to be the slope and the second box will be the y-intercept. Let's start by looking at the slope. Now, when I want to find the slope, I know that the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is what I'm going to use to find the slope right now. Okay, so y2 minus y1. So that will be 1 minus negative 1. Okay, 1 minus negative 1. Then x minus x, so that's negative 3 minus negative 5. So I have negative 3 minus negative 5. Now, hopefully you know that anytime you have minus and negative, that is really going to be addition. Okay, so that's going to end up giving us 2 over 2. So the slope is equal to 1. So that's the first box. I can go ahead and put the 1 right in there. Now it's time to find the y-intercept. Now, the way I will go about doing that is I will start with the model y equals mx plus b. And then understand that the b is what we're looking for. So I'm going to have to substitute a y, an m, and an x. Well, I have m right there. What about y and x? I can use either one of these 2 points for my x and my y. I'm going to choose the point on the right just because I like these numbers better. It doesn't matter. So this will be my x and my y. So if I want to start off y equals, that means I'm going to start off 1 equals. And then comes m, which is 1. And then comes x, which is negative 3. And then plus b. Okay, so this is really just 1 is equal to negative 3 plus b. So I need to add 3 to both sides in order to get b by itself. So that gives me that 4 is equal to b, or b equals 4. So I know what b is, so I can put that right there. So that means that the final answer is going to be y is equal to x plus 4. We don't need the 1. Alright, if you put the 1, you're going to lose a point. So that's the final answer. For vertical and horizontal lines, we don't need the chart. These are special cases. Here's the information you need to know. Let's talk about horizontal lines, and we'll compare that with vertical lines. Alright, first of all, horizontal looks like this. Okay, that is horizontal. Vertical looks like this. Alright, make sure you have that concept. Second of all, let's talk about slope. The slope of a horizontal line is always 0. Okay, always. For a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Okay, we just have to go ahead and memorize this. And finally, a horizontal line always has the equation y equals some number. Okay, like y equals 5. A vertical line always has the equation x equals some number. So just memorize this set of facts. They all go together. And these 4 concepts, they all go together. In this case, it says vertical. So that means, right, I can erase all this. That means this is the information that I know. For this particular problem, I'm just supposed to be writing an equation. So I can just use this fact right here. A vertical line always has the equation x equals something. X equals what number? Well, look, this is the x value right here. So I guess x equals 11. And that's it. That's the answer. Okay, if it had been a horizontal line, I would have said y equals negative 15. Alright, for number 3, I'm going to go right back to my chart making. Alright, really, if it's not horizontal or vertical, I'm going to make a chart. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. The slope m goes in the first column. The y-intercept b goes in the middle column, and the equation goes in the third column. The equation is always in the form y is equal to something x plus something, where the first box is the slope and the second box is the y-intercept. Okay, in this case they did not give me 2 points, so I can't do y minus y over x minus x like I did in problem number 1. What they gave me instead was the equation of a parallel line. So indirectly they are giving me the slope. So let's start by looking at this. Can you tell me the slope of this parallel line right here? What's the slope? Alright, hopefully you were shouting out -3 at your phone or computer, because -3 is the slope. So now that is the slope of a parallel line, so I'm going to call it m parallel because it's the slope of a parallel line. And so m parallel is -3. Please notice this -1 has nothing to do with anything. So I'm going to cross that out. I'm not going to use the -1 at all. So the question is, how will the slope of this parallel line compare to the slope of the line that I'm trying to write the equation of? Well, parallel lines have the same slope. So if the slope of a parallel line is -3, then the slope of the line that I am interested in is also -3. So in this way they have given us the slope. They have not given us the y-intercept. Leave that -1 alone. But the slope is -3, so I can go ahead and put that in the slope box. So let's go ahead and find the y-intercept. Now, for this, I am going to use the same technique I used in problem number 1. That's where I used the model y equals mx plus b. So I need y, m, and x. Well, they gave me a point, so that's an x and a y. So I can go ahead and do that. So instead of y equals, I will put 4 equals. M is -3. X is also -3. Coincidence. And then plus b. So that's going to give me 4 is equal to 9 plus b. And then I will subtract 9 from both sides. And so I get -5 is equal to b. Alright, b is equal to -5. So that tells me that I can put -5 in this box. So that's why the final answer will be y equals -3x minus 5. Do not put plus -5, just put -5. For problem number 4, I am given a point on the line, and I'm given the equation of a perpendicular line. So I am once again going to make a chart like I usually do. So as you've seen a few times now, I will put slope m in the first column, and I will do y-intercept. Whoa. I will do y-intercept b in the second column, and in the third column I will write the equation. Now, the equation always goes y equals something x plus something, where the first box is the slope and the second box is the y-intercept. Let's start by figuring out the slope. So when they give me this perpendicular line, they are indirectly giving me the slope. So let's start by asking ourselves, what is the slope of this perpendicular line? Hopefully you're thinking, boom, the slope is right there, -5/2. That's the slope of the perpendicular line. By the way, the slope does not include x. Sometimes students will say -5/2x. Nope, the slope is just the number part, -5/2. Okay, so let's write that down. That's not the slope that I necessarily am going to put in the box. That is the slope of a perpendicular line. So I'm going to call it m perpendicular. So the slope of a perpendicular line is -5/2. So the question is, how will that compare to the slope that I actually want for the line that goes through this point? Well, it turns out there are two things I know about the slope for lines that are perpendicular. And I'm just going to temporarily borrow the space that I will use to find the y-intercept for these notes. When you have perpendicular lines, the slopes are opposite and, say it with me, reciprocal. Alright, if you're in my class, you've heard me say that 100 times, and I've drilled it into your brain, and you probably recited it along with me. So, opposite and reciprocal. Reciprocal means 5/2 becomes 2/5. That's reciprocal. Opposite means if the one slope is negative, then the other one is positive. So I'm going to leave this positive 2/5. So this is the slope that I'm actually looking for. By the way, this +1 is not anything. Do not use the +1. It will not show up anywhere in the problem. Okay, so, but I have my slope now. That is 2/5. So I will go ahead and put that in the box. Alright, now it's time to find the y-intercept, so I need to erase these notes I just wrote. Alright, hopefully that information is in your brain. For the y-intercept, what we do is we start with the model y equals mx plus b. Okay, and we substitute. We're looking for b. So we can get an x and a y from the point. So we have y equals, so that's going to become -3 equals. Then there's m, alright, which we just found to be 2/5. And then there's x, which is 5. And then there's plus b, which is what we're looking for. Now when I look at this, I think, oh, those two 5s are going to cancel each other out, and that's just going to leave 2. So that's going to be -3 is equal to 2 plus b. Okay, now if you're not comfortable with the fact that these cancel out, then you had two choices. You might have thought of it this way: -3 is equal to, and this is like 5/1. So you might have thought of this as 10/5, and then that would become 2. Okay, so you could do it that way. Or if you're more a calculator person, then you might have gone 2/5 times 5, and you're going to get 2. But again, the best thing is to see that these 5s cancel each other out, and it will leave the 2. Anyway, we have to get b by itself, so got to subtract 2 from both sides. That gives you, whoops, trying to write a -5, but that looks like a b. That's going to give you -5 is equal to b. So b is equal to -5. So boom. So that means the final answer is y is equal to 2/5 x minus 5. And there you go. Alright, number 5 is fun. We're supposed to write the equation of a line that is parallel to the line drawn here, but passes through point P. Okay, so I'm still going to do one of the little charts that I'm always making for this type of a problem. Okay, because if I do it the same way over and over again, I will never get lost, and more importantly, my students will never get lost. Okay, so some of this is going to be really straightforward. So slope m goes in the first column, the y-intercept b goes in the second column, and we will write the equation in the third column. And the equation always goes y is equal to something x plus something, where the first box will be the slope and the second box will be the y-intercept. Let's start with the slope. Okay, now this line drawn is not the line we're writing the equation of. This is a parallel line. So because it's a parallel line, we should be able to use it to find what I call m parallel, the slope of a parallel line. So, what is the slope of this parallel line? Let's put some dots on here that fall right where the grid lines meet. Okay, now, as I travel from one point to another, let's think about the rise and the run. See how I'm going down 2 over 1 each time. So that -2 is the rise, and the right 1 is the run, rise over run. Okay, so that tells me that the slope is going to be -2 over 1, okay, rise over run, but -2 over 1 is simply -2. So the slope of the parallel line is -2. So how will that compare to the slope that I'm actually looking for, the slope of the line that goes through this point? Well, parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so if m parallel is -2, then that means m is -2. The slope I'm actually going to use should be the same as the parallel line. So I can go ahead and put -2 in the box. That is a keeper. Now, time to find the y-intercept. The way I always find the y-intercept is I think to myself, y equals mx plus b, and I'm looking for b. So I need to substitute a y, and m, and an x in order to find b. Well, I already just found m, so all I need is an x and a y. Normally they give us a point like 3, 5. This time they gave us a point that's graphed, but I can just look at it and get the coordinates of it. So the coordinates of point P are 4, 4. Alright, that's x and y. 4, 4. So I'm going to substitute 4 and 4 for y and x. So that's why I will have 4 equals, and then comes m, which is -2, and then x, which is 4 again, and then plus b. So that's going to give me 4 is equal to -8 plus b, and then I can add 8 to both sides, so that's going to give me 12. So b is equal to 12. So I can go ahead and put 12 in the y-intercept box. So that's why the final answer will be y is equal to -2x plus 12. Okay, number 6 is super similar. Write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to the line drawn here. Let's make that chart that I love to make, y'all. Love to make the chart. So I will have slope m, and then I will have y-intercept b. And then I will write the equation. And the equation goes y equals something x plus something, where the first box is the slope and the second box is the y-intercept. Now let's find the slope first. Now we're not talking about the slope of this line. This is not the line we're trying to find the equation of. This is a perpendicular line. Is this the same picture from the last problem? I think that it is. Anyway, this is supposed to be a line that's perpendicular to the line that I want an equation for. So because of perpendicular, I'm going to start by writing m perpendicular. Okay, what is the slope of this perpendicular line? And I think this is the same as last time, which was it's down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. So that's negative 2, down 2 is negative 2, and over 1 is positive 1. So that's rise over run. Negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. So that's the slope of this perpendicular line. So the question becomes, how does the slope of a perpendicular line compare to the slope that we're actually looking for? And we know, based on previous problems in this very video, that perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite and what? Reciprocal. Opposite and reciprocal. Remember that this is like negative 2 over 1. So the reciprocal of this would be 1/2. Opposite means opposite in sign. So if a perpendicular line has a negative slope, then our line will have a positive slope. So I'm just going to leave this positive 1/2, and there you go. The slope we need is positive 1/2, and we can go ahead and put that in the box. Alright, so now it's time to go ahead and find the y-intercept. Now, how do I always find the y-intercept, you ask? I use y equals mx plus b, the model itself. We're looking for b. I need to substitute y, m, and x. M is right there, so I just need x and y. But this is the same as the previous problem. I can use the point, alright? The line we're trying to find the equation of passes through this point, and this is the point 4, 4. So that's x and y. So y equals becomes 4 equals. And then m is 1/2, and x is 4 again, and then plus b. Half of 4 is 2, so I have 4 is equal to 2 plus b. Subtract 2 from both sides, so that's 2 is equal to b. So b is 2. So that goes right here. So the final answer is y is equal to 1/2 x plus 2. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.